Yes, you're watching the South Australian Sports Show. Thanks for staying with us. Trying to turn our attention a little bit to the Olympic Games. Less than 3 weeks away, so we thought we'd get in touch with some of our favourite Olympians. Rachel Bugg joins us, one of our all-time faves. Rach, how are you?
Thanks, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, 2012, of course, Olympics for you in the diving, synchronised diving. So, with interest, we've watched the Olympics. They've been called off, they're on, they're off. They've been bumped out a year. Now, if my memory serves me right, 2008 Olympics coming, you're still a chance, and then you tear a tricep, so you have to miss the 2008. So kind of similar in some ways. You're out for a year, then you've got to come back and train to think about getting to 2012. Well, two questions. The moment that you realised 2008 was now out of the equation after all that work, what was that moment like for you? I
was still probably not a top competitor for that, but you know, every time you're competing, you're in for a chance. So as soon as I did my tricep, it was devastating, like any injury, I guess. You know, you're out for a little while, but in my rehab was when I decided I was going to retire, didn't want to train anymore, and I was done, but naturally missed it and came back.
that was in the trials you did that?
Yeah, in one of the dives. I was competing in the trials, and one of my handstand dives, I didn't quite lock my arms out on entry, and I collapsed, and third grade tear in my tricep.
So as you hit the water, bang.
We hit the water at 60 kilometres an hour, so...
Wow.
It's fast.
Well, why do you do it?
That's why she was thinking of giving it up.
Because that's a very bad injury to me. That would have the pain that would have ended me for sure. I'm never diving again if that happens to me. How long did it take you to get over that?
Well, to start with, I couldn't really get out of the pool because we have to push ourselves out, and so obviously my tricep, it was a kind of, you know, a bit of a whale, pull myself up and kind of roll out. So it wasn't very elegant, but that's okay. I'm sure we've all been there and done something like that before. Yeah. But I think I was probably just started my rehab when I decided I didn't want to dive anymore. So I didn't finish my rehab properly and thought, it's fine for everyday use, don't need it for diving, and so I probably didn't rehab it the best. So when I came back to the sport, I had to really make sure it was...
So what got you back? Well, I mean, because that's a bad injury, and then you think, that's it, I'm not diving anymore. How long did it take you then to go, okay, I might have another crack here?
Just under a year, I reckon. And I said, Mum, I miss it. I had that fire in the belly again. I wanted to give it, because you're in or out. You can't just dive, you know, very casually, I guess. I was either in or I was out. So I missed it enough, and I was ready to give up my life again to go back into it. So that's how that comes.
Because you do, don't you? You do give up your life. I mean, the training for an Olympics is just, would be, well, to me anyway, I mean, Phil, you've been there, mate, all time consuming. There's nothing else you can do other than train.
Absolutely. I was obviously training through school, so no one's house after school, no parties on weekends. It was quite a... You know, people probably think it's quite an isolated life, and you know, but at the time I was willing to give it up to be able to hopefully one day make the Olympic team. So I loved it that much. I was, you know, ready to do that. I think if you're not happy to give that stuff up, you're probably not quite in the right frame of mind to be training.
She's been able to catch up on all that other stuff since she retired.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I hear you're an A-grade partier now. That's fine. That's all good.
Potential gold medalist.
Who do you put it down to?
Absolutely.
Who do you put it down to for you to come back? Who got in your ear? Someone get in your ear, coaching?
No coaches in my ear, no. I came back on my own. I went to my mum and had technically her approval. I guess I was still living at home, and Mum and Dad were my supporters growing up, driving me, you know, giving up part of their life so I could live, you know, fulfil my dream. So I think getting Mum's approval, you know, you kind of test the waters. I think I want to go back. And she was kind of willing to drop everything and, you know, do it with me, I guess. So that's straight to the coaches.
Did they get to be a part of the journey in 2012? Did they get to go and watch you compete?
They did. Mum was only over there for, I think, 5 days because she... was just diagnosed with breast cancer and had to fly back and have surgery. But they did, they were there supporting me, and they got to be there. I wouldn't have known they were there with the amount of people that were there. But they got to come to the village. I think it was the last year. I don't think they did it in Rio. That the parents and and family could come and see like the food hall and stuff and where we were living.
So the athletes now, if we talk about Tokyo that's coming up, the parents can't go. Well, there might be some now that might, because a maximum audience of 10,000, but a lot of the parents that were going aren't going. Do you reckon a huge disappointment for them, as you would have for your parents? But you touched on it there. You didn't know whether they were or weren't there, so there wasn't really a comfort for you in them being there? It was just nice knowing that they were there?
Yeah, it was just nice knowing, I think. And for diving, having an audience as such in general is probably not as important as other sports because it's silent when we're diving. But yeah, I do feel for, especially like first-time Olympians or this is going to be their only Olympics, I really feel for those athletes that aren't going to have their support network with them, even though whether they will see them before their competition, they will know they're not there and, you know, they're on their own, but they're mentally tough, I tell you what, this year going into these games.
Well, you touched on it there. You're not used to big crowds, certainly in Australia, certainly when the Australian Championships are on or qualifying and stuff like that, so it's generally pretty quiet. But then there's that big roar, you know, when someone's done a great dive and then you're coming out and then it goes quiet again. So for you, walking up the stairs to the 10-metre platform, which is quite a good walk, I might add.
That would be the end of me.
Been there, done
I've been there with you and done it, so I know I don't want to do it again. But that moment where you come out and the roars drop, what's going through your head from the time you hit the steps and then you've got a minute or two to get up to the platform? What's going through your mind?
I think you switch off a lot and you just you're going through in your mind keywords of what you need to focus on for your next dive. So I think fortunately for the divers, the crowd is not a big thing. So going into these games, it's not going to be a big difference for them. It is, you really do switch off and you have really focus on what you are doing and not so much about the noise and the crowd. So hopefully for, the divers going into these games, it'll be good, but yeah, I do feel for some of the other athletes.
This is a synchronised dive. How do you pick your partner? How does that all happen? Do you see someone dive and go, ooh, hang on, she might be good. I think I'll dive with her.
It's kind of like matchmaking, but coaches and, program managers from, around the country kind of mix and match. And when you have a similar diving technique and style, that's kind of what makes it work. You can be the two best divers in the country and you could maybe not make a really good synchro pair.
Team,
you've got to have really the same style. That's the most important thing. So.
Because you had a partner called, now I don't know, is that a real name?
Liudi?
Liudi. Liudi?
Yes.
I thought it was Loudy, L-O-U-D-Y.
Liudi.
That's an interesting name, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
So how did you two obviously got on very well, or you dived very well together?
Yes.
How long did you train with Liudi?
Probably close to a year we were partnered up, and then it was more intense training because we lived in different states, so it was more intense training closer to the Olympics once we'd qualified. Yeah. But she lived in Melbourne and I lived in Brisbane at the time.
Yeah. So when you get to the top of the platform and you're ready to go, and you're going to walk up now and here we go, do you have a little chat? Is there a little chat going? I often see the divers, they might just give a little, high five or something like that. Do you have a little chat with Liudi or did you just go bang?
Liudi and I didn't really talk too much. We have our chat before the competition and then when we're in comp, it'd be like a sentence. That's about it. But
you don't say like, hey, you ready? Are you ready for this? Or
no, not so much.
I think I would.
I think
you know you're ready, mate. If you're not ready now, it's too late. Not much point in being ready to get on the platform.
We're up here now. I often wonder that. I mean, is what's going through the head of the other diver and whatever. Because if they're slightly off, you're off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team. Yes. When I had Melissa Wu as my synchro partner leading up to 2014 Com Games, we talked a lot more. So I think it just depends on the individuals and how you work out. I adapted to both quite easily. So it was
might be a series in it. Diver wants a diver. You got Farmer wants a wife. We might be able to get something started.
You can come back on 10 metre with us and we can do another dive.
It's not a comedy show.
Oh, we should definitely do it again.
We'll do it again. Well, yeah, okay. I'll make a note to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I want to ask you, what's your thoughts leading into the Olympics? Because Barry and I have talked about this. It feels like because it got bumped out, that year, it's almost like we're starting to see more on Channel 7 now that it's coming. But as an Olympian, I found it difficult to embrace it like I normally do. I want to, and I'm sure once it starts I'll get into it, but I'm struggling to feel that same attachment to it. How have you found it?
Oh, absolutely, I agree. I think there hasn't been much advertising for it. It has been really, I don't know whether it's they thought maybe it wasn't going ahead because, obviously nothing's really guaranteed at the moment. So I think it's been really hard to get on board. I mean, I'm very lucky at the moment. My housemate is going to the Olympics this year, so Annabelle Smith for diving, and I have her around. But other than that, I don't hear much about it, not much talk about it. So, I'm kind of happy I get to support her through it. And I think, like you said, once it starts, I won't be able to turn the telly off. But
quickly, because we have to go, I want to ask you about your fiancé. Congratulations,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Is he interested? How does you're being an Olympian? You're attached to it. He's not. Do you think he's going to get engaged at the same time and watch it with you?
Oh, he loves sports more than me. He knows more Olympians' names than me, and I'm really embarrassed to say that. But he is cycling fanatic, loves all the cycling. Now he knows some of the divers. He's going to get involved in that. So he'll just sit and watch the sports non-stop. He doesn't care what it is.
He's going to love our next guest then, because he's got a few medals.
Are you still into a subject very dear to my heart? Beauty therapist? Are you still?
I'm still a qualified beauty therapist, but I actually work as a rep in orthopedics now, so I'm in hospitals.
You can do with this?
You look beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Rach has been outstanding. Not a miracle worker, is Rach. Rachel Bugg was our special guest. Stay with us. Still, a bit more to come on the show.